guys, it's Rose. Welcome back to Journals in Time, and welcome if you are new. So today we are working with paint chips. Look at all this goodness in here. Now I will say in Ireland, or at least in my town, I only have access to these small paint chips. I know some of you have access to really large ones and they are fantastic. I'd love to get my hands on some of them and play with them. So as such, I could only make things with the smaller ones today. A lot of these techniques can be used with the bigger ones as well, but just bear that in mind, okay? So one thing that I love about paint chips, the colour. Obviously you get lots and lots and lots of different colours, and the finish on these things is just beautiful. So because of the finish, I do want to talk a little bit about altering these guys, okay? So I went and I had a little play around and I did lots of different things. I cut them and I trimmed corners and I punched them. And I made teeny little tags, and look at that, isn't it so cute? And I made ticket shapes. The only way to, the only thing you have to do to get the ticket shape is take your rectangular or your square piece, put it under 1/4 of a hole punch. Like when you put it under the hole punch, just put it under 1/4 of it and punch down, and it will give you these little corners. So that is those. Then I went along and I did other stuff to them. I stamped and I embossed. I'm going to bring you guys in a little closer. So I stamped and embossed. I did texture paste with a stencil. I decoupaged on them. I heat embossed on them. And I collaged on them. Okay, so lots of different ways to alter these things. One or two little considerations, okay? First of all, the dry heat embossing is absolutely stunning on these things. I love how that turns out, and I would love, love, love to be able to try it with the larger ones. So that's those. The stamping. Now, there is quite a bit to consider with the stamping, okay? Pigment inks and distress oxides do not like to dry on top of this surface, okay? They stay wet for a really long time. This one, and this one, they were all done with the distress oxides good 3 hours ago, maybe even 4 hours ago, and I had to heat set these before I started filming. Okay, so pigments and distress oxides, no joy. Well, not no joy, they just take a long time to dry. These were 2 pigment inks also. Again, I had to dry these before the video, but I think they look fabulous. That one is a really nice sharp image. I love that. And I love the colour of this ink. It's nice kind of powdery blue. Love that. So the next thing I tried, and this should have been the very first thing I tried, but I almost forgot to do this, okay? So strange. This is just regular distress ink, and that works really, really well on these. Lovely crisp image and no smearing or smudging. This is just a regular dye ink. Now you can't see this very well, it's very faint, and that is because just simply the colour. That's just the colour of ink that I chose, okay? I love this colour of ink and I thought it might show up a little better, but that's what I got. Love it, dried very, very quickly. And last but not least, because this was my favourite of all the ones that I tried, this is Ranger Archival ink. And that worked amazingly. Okay, I love that kitty cat. Isn't he so cute? So that's the inking. So a couple of considerations with that. Pigments and distress oxides, they will need drying, or they will need to be left overnight at the very least. Yeah, so that's that. Dye inks work great. Distress ink works great. Okay, so heat embossing works absolutely fantastically well. Great tone on tone with just clear heat embossing. Because of my excuse me, because of the pieces that the fact that the pieces I have are so small, this stamp didn't really kind of this piece doesn't do the stamp justice. It's a lace stamp, and it does work really, really well, just not on that small piece. And that is a nice small flowered one. I love this. I love the yellow with the white. Absolutely beautiful. But the tone on tone, there's just something about that that I love as well. Okay, so that's those. Then I did some texture paste through a stencil, and that is absolutely awesome. I love how these turned out. That will make a great addition to pretty much any journal, really, to be honest with you. Lots of different ways to use it. And this one, I do wish that I had used my gold texture paste. I think this would look absolutely stunning in a bee journal if that was gold. It'll probably still look good anyway, and that's probably where I will use it eventually. But it looks good with the white, but that royal blue popping through from behind, absolutely stunning. And the texture paste went on absolutely perfectly, no problems. Decoupage again worked fantastically well. You do have to be aware of the colouring behind. This is a bright pink one that I did just to show you guys that it does show through quite a lot. These were more neutral colours and just different pieces of napkins. Yeah, and I did a little tiny tag with that one. Okay, so they're absolutely fabulous. And then I collaged on them just a few different bits of paper and a focal point, and that worked really well. So the glue that I used for the decoupage, I used matte gel medium. I used matte gel medium for some of these, and then I used my Aleene's tacky glue as well. Okay, and that worked great as well. Okay, so that is those. And then I went ahead and I did a few little samples for you guys of extra ways. These are kind of simpler ways to use them, and I will talk about some other really simple ways to use them as well before we get into our actual 3 ways. Did I show you my punches? I did. They came out absolutely so pretty. Love, love, love those kind of deep colours for those punches. Okay, so I went ahead and I used one of the ones that I had heat embossed, and I made a little cluster with it. It's just a few simple pieces of paper from my scrap bin, a scrap of fabric, my paint chip, and some die cut leaves, and that will be awesome for an autumn journal at some point. Then I went and I used one of the ones that I had collaged, and I used it for an envelope closure. Okay, now my envelope is not stuck together just yet because I need to dye it. But yeah, that will make a fab envelope closure when I get that closed up. That envelope is from my Woodland Wanderings kit, if you wanted to know. And the last kind of simple piece that I have here, this is a page for my Steamship Voyage kit. I haven't actually started a journal, but I have been making a lot of bits and pieces for a journal to make with it. And I wanted to do a flip page with a pocket underneath, and for the hinges I used our paint chips. Now these are actually 2 slightly different colours of pink. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. They're both still pink. They're close enough that it doesn't really matter, and they pull from this pink very, very nicely as well. There's very faded pink roses in the background of that photograph, and it pulls that colour out very, very nicely. So one of the things that I love about the paint chips, as I said, is the colours and the fact that you're going to get something that will work with the project you're working with. I love that. Okay, so that is those bits. Now there are other simple things that you can do with them, like you can make tabs with them, you can make tag toppers with them. Lots and lots of simple ways like that to use. Tuck spots is another one. Just put one on the side of a page and tuck something into it. Absolutely fabulous. And I have used them like this before. I've used them for all of these purposes before. Okay, so you can obviously make tickets, labels, that kind of thing with them. Just word labels would be awesome as well. So yeah, so on to our 3 ways that we are talking about today that we may not have thought of before now. Okay, so first up, this is a piece that I made roughly a month ago, I would say, maybe a little bit more, on my channel, and I will link the video up here for you guys. and at the time I didn't put any closure on it. So today I went and I took one of my little paint chips and I made a closure with it. Now I like using the paint chips for this. Number one, we can match the colours. Number two, they're very sturdy and they have such a beautiful finish. It just gives a more professional finish, I think, to anything like this. So there's our closure. I will open this up and show you guys because I know you'll want to see. So we have an envelope pocket here in the front, and then we open it up and we have a little scrappy notebook inside with a vellum, embossed vellum pocket, and the back. Okay, so that is that. Like I said, I will link that video in the corner of the video for you guys. So policy envelope closures, or just policy closures, sorry, that's number one. Number two, I call this the invisible pocket. Okay, so I have two of my paint chips here, top and bottom, and positioned in just such a way that I can slide this notebook in and out. This is a notebook that Mandy Reed from Sunflowers Indoors sent me a couple of months back when we were doing a swap. Isn't it so sweet? And I think this is a great way to put this one into a journal. Now obviously you can decorate up your paint chips as much as you like. Those collage pieces would look awesome, as well as, oh, that would actually have looked amazing. Why didn't I use those? That looks amazing up there. So yeah, decorate them up as much as you like, and they make great little invisible pockets. I've never seen anybody do these on YouTube. Are there other people out there who've done them? And if so, what do they call them? Like I said, I call them invisible pockets. I think they're great. I've done them with circles as well, just discs. And you could obviously cut your paint chip into discs and use them for that. But they're nice and sturdy for this kind of thing. So yeah, perfect. I love them. Okay, so that is number two. Number three, and we are going to be making one of these today, is to use them as dangles. Okay. So that's one that I made earlier on. And just a note about this. This is one that I did texture paste on, and I put 2 coats of clear heat embossing over that texture paste, and it almost looks like porcelain, guys. It looks really, really cool. But as I was making the dangle itself, putting in the holes and things, it started to peel away. The heat emboss powder, or the heat embossing on top of it, all started to peel away from this corner. Now it did stop peeling. I don't know if that is an anomaly or whether it just doesn't want to stick to that paint, but we're going to see. We're going to make one of these right now, and we're going to see whether that works or not. Now I'm hoping that the the heat emboss will stay on the other one, because it looks amazing. This is the second one that I have here ready to go. I have my heat embossing on this, and I love it. It looks and feels even like porcelain. It is awesome. Really love it. Okay, so let's get started. We are going to put a couple of holes, top and bottom. Going to make it similar enough to the other one. So we have our crocodile. So we have our holes in there. Now, looking at that, that is part of the heat embossing there. It has already come away from the little hole that the middle of that hole that I just punched out. So maybe I should have punched the holes first and then heat embossed. I don't know. Let's continue and we'll see. But either way, even without the heat embossing, these can be used as dangles, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. So we need some eyelets. Okay, so our heat embossing seems to be staying in place right now. There's one piece after actually coming away there. Very interesting how some of it is coming away and some of it is staying there. But let's go on. So that is looking very cute. And the next thing we need is a bulb pin for the top. We have one here. Now I could probably use some beads and things on here on this little bulb pin, but I don't have any ready. But just, you could put a couple of beads up here as well to decorate that. let's get our next pieces. So I want a lobster claw on here as well. I'm actually going to do that in a minute. I'm going to get this on here first. I just have a large jump ring and I'm going to get this on here, and on this I want to put a charm. So let's pick out a charm. Oh look, there's a beautiful shell. Let's use that. Awesome. Oh yes, I'm actually going to put that onto a second jump ring. So let's get this one closed up. And we have some small ones in here. We can get our charm on. Et voila. And the next thing to do is our beads. Okay, so I have picked out a selection here. Just I'm keeping it simple. So I think I might do 2 strands on this. And I love these. They're almost like abalone, or maybe they are abalone, I'm not sure, but it's absolutely gorgeous and very sea-like. So I am going to take a piece of this. I don't want it to be too long. The other one is long enough. I don't want this one to be any longer. So let's take it from here. And I have a little lobster clasp here, and it has a jump ring on it already. So we'll get that in there. And get that closed up. Lovely. Now I think I'm going to have maybe 2 strands of this very delicate beading as well. Yep. And I want to take it from here. Ooh. I'm putting this onto the same jump ring. Yeah. Get that one closed up. And I'm going to do the same here. Do I want this the same length or different? It's very hard to show you guys this on camera. I'm going to have this one slightly shorter. Okay. So I'm going to take it from here. Again, we're putting it on the same jump ring. Get that closed up. And that's what we have so far for our beady bits. Now these loops at the end need something to come off of those. I could leave them, but I'm going to find something to hang up from those. Okay, so I'm going to try 2 charms. I found an anchor and a key. So let's try those. I think the key first on the shorter one. There we go, and the anchor on the longer one. Okay, so there we have a little beady bit. Okay, so we're going to attach this with the lobster onto our card. Et voila, and that will hang from the spine or from some fabric in your journal or whatever, wherever you'd like to put it. And that is really, really sweet. I love that paint chip piece in there. I think it makes it look so different, so unique. And with that heat embossing on top, it just looks awesome. Even without it, to be honest, those pieces looked really, really good. But I thought the heat embossing added a little something extra. So I do hope it stays, and it does appear to have stayed on this one. So fingers crossed. So give it a go yourselves and see what you think, guys. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope you got some inspiration to use up some of your paint chips and all the different things you can do with them. There are lots and lots of things that you could do with these. So yeah, there's all our little makes. Et voila. Okay, so that is it from me for today, guys. I will talk to you all very, very soon. Bye.